The ships appeared in Earth's sky on a Tuesday morning. They were massive, blocking out the sun over major cities across the globe. Seoul was the first city where the alien delegation decided to land. The entire world watched as the enormous vessel descended slowly onto the designated landing zone outside the city center. Commander Taeyang Park stood at the front of the welcoming committee. He wore his best uniform and tried to keep his face calm. Behind him were diplomats, scientists, and world leaders who had flown in for this historic moment. Humanity's first contact with alien life. Everyone hoped it would be peaceful. The ship's door opened with a hiss of pressurized air. The aliens that emerged were tall, nearly 8 feet in height. Their skin was covered in dark green scales that reflected the sunlight. They had yellow eyes with vertical pupils like snakes. They walked on 2 legs, but their movements were fluid and predatory. Behind them came other aliens of different species. But these reptilian ones seemed to be in charge. The leader of the delegation stepped forward. Through a translation device on his chest, his voice came out in perfect Korean. "I am High Executor Krelvis of the Vroth species. We represent the Galactic Dominion. Your planet has been identified for integration into our empire." Taeyang felt his stomach drop. Integration. Not friendship. Not alliance. Integration. Taeyang. Ah, Taeyang. 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 He kept his diplomatic smile in place. "Welcome to Earth, High Executor. We look forward to peaceful discussions about our future relationship." Krelvis made a sound that might have been laughter. "There is no discussion. You will submit your resources and your world to our authority. You have 72 hours to agree. This is our standard procedure with primitive species." The words sent a chill through everyone present. Primitive. As if humanity meant nothing. Taeyang exchanged glances with the other leaders. They had prepared for many scenarios, but not outright demands for surrender. "Perhaps we should speak more about this," Taeyang said carefully. "Let us show you our world. Help you understand our people." Over the next 2 days, the situation grew more tense. The Galactic Dominion made it clear they saw humans as inferior. They demanded access to Earth's mineral deposits, particularly rare elements found in limited quantities. They wanted 20% of Earth's population to serve as workers on their colony worlds. They wanted complete control of Earth's governments and military. The world's leaders met in emergency sessions. The answer from every nation was the same. No. Earth would not become a slave planet. But everyone also knew the alien ships in orbit carried weapons that could destroy entire cities. The aliens had faster-than-light travel and technology, centuries beyond human capability. How could humanity resist? On the 3rd day, Krelvis agreed to a public demonstration in Seoul's main plaza. The aliens would show their technology and culture. Humanity would show theirs. It was meant to build understanding between the species. Thousands of people gathered in the plaza. News cameras from every country filmed the event. Minji Choi was 8 years old. She had come to the plaza with her father, Dowan Choi. Dowan was a civil engineer who had taken the day off work to witness history. Minji was excited to see real aliens. She held her father's hand as they stood in the crowd, watching the alien delegation demonstrate their equipment. The aliens showed off their weapons, their vehicles, their armor. Everything was clearly designed to intimidate. The crowd murmured uneasily. This was not the friendly first contact humanity had dreamed about. This was a show of force. Minji saw a small alien device on the ground near the barriers. It must have fallen from one of the display tables. Being a curious child, she slipped through the crowd before her father could stop her. She picked up the device and ran toward a Vroth soldier named Thexil to return it. She bumped into his leg as she held up the device. "Sir, you dropped this." Thexil looked down at the small human child. His yellow eyes narrowed. Without warning, without hesitation, he pulled out his plasma weapon and fired. The beam struck Minji in the chest. She didn't even have time to scream. Her body disintegrated into ash in less than a second. The plaza fell silent. Thousands of people had just watched a child murdered. Dowan stood frozen, his hand still extended where his daughter had been holding it moments before. His mind could not process what had just happened. Then the screaming started. People rushed forward. Security tried to maintain order. Taeyang Park ran toward the alien delegation, his face red with fury. "What have you done?" he shouted. Krelvis looked at the pile of ash that had been Minji Choi. He showed no emotion. "The child touched one of my soldiers without permission. She disrespected a superior species. This is standard discipline in the Dominion. She was a child." Taeyang's voice cracked. "She was 8 years old. Your species must learn its place," Krelvis said coldly. "You have until sunset to agree to our terms. If you refuse, we will begin orbital bombardment of your cities. Choose wisely, humans. Submit or die." The Vrath delegation walked back to their ship calmly, as if nothing important had happened. They lifted off and returned to their fleet in orbit. They left behind chaos, grief, and rage. Dowan Choi fell to his knees beside the small pile of ash. He touched it gently, his hands shaking. Other people surrounded him, crying, trying to offer comfort. But there was no comfort possible. His daughter was gone. Murdered for the crime of being kind. Taeyang Park stood watching the alien ship disappear into the sky. His fists were clenched so tight, his nails drew blood from his palms. Around him, he could hear people crying, shouting, demanding action. The cameras had caught everything. The whole world had watched Minji die. That night, the United Earth Council held an emergency meeting. Every leader attended. The debate lasted less than 5 minutes. The vote was unanimous. Taeyang stood before the council and said the words that would change everything. "They believe we will surrender because we fear them. They believe we are primitive and weak. They have made their choice. Now we make ours. We go to war." The message was broadcast to every human on Earth. To every nation, every city, every person. Humanity had been given a choice between submission and destruction. But humans are not good at accepting impossible choices. They make a third option. They fight. The news of Minji Choi's murder spread across Earth within minutes. Every television, every computer, every phone showed the footage. An 8-year-old girl disintegrated for returning a lost object. The image of her father kneeling beside a pile of ash became the symbol of humanity's rage. Something happened that night that had never happened before in human history. Every war stopped. Every conflict ended. Every border dispute was set aside. Nations that had been enemies for centuries called each other allies. The entire human race united with a single purpose. The aliens had made humanity into one people, one army, one weapon pointed at the sky. Commander Taeyang Park barely slept in the days following the attack. The United Earth Defense Force was formed, combining every military on the planet under one command structure. Taeyang was given supreme authority. His first order was simple. Every resource on Earth was now dedicated to one goal: winning the war. Factories that made cars began making armored vehicles. Factories that made phones began making communication equipment. Scientists who had been researching medicine switched to researching weapons. Every person on Earth understood. This was not a normal war. This was survival. The enemy did not see humans as people. They saw humans as animals, to be controlled or eliminated. Dowan Choi did not attend his daughter's memorial service. There was no body to bury, only ash in a small container. Instead, he walked into a military recruitment center. His eyes were red from crying, but his voice was steady. "I want to join the engineering corps," he told the officer. "I want to build weapons that can kill them." The officer recognized Dowan from the news. Everyone in the world knew his face. "Sir, you don't have to do this. You should take time to grieve." Dowan looked at the officer with eyes that held no tears anymore, only cold determination. "My daughter is dead. Grief can wait. First, we make them pay." ATM. Within a week, Dowan was assigned to a special weapons development team. His job was to study captured alien technology and find weaknesses. He worked 18 hours a day, sometimes more. He stopped eating regular meals. He stopped sleeping in a bed. Other engineers worried about him, but no one could convince him to rest. Dr. Hee-Jin Nam was one of Earth's leading physicists. Before the invasion, she had been working on clean energy research. Now, she led a team of 300 scientists studying the alien ships that had been shot down during the initial skirmishes. The aliens had expected easy victory in the first battles. They discovered that humans were very good at learning quickly. Their shields operate on a rotating frequency, Hee-Jin explained to her team. They cycle through different energy wavelengths to protect against various weapons. But there are gaps, microseconds, where the transition happens. If we can time our weapons to fire during those gaps, we can hurt them. Her team worked around the clock. They dissected alien technology piece by piece. They learned how the energy weapons functioned. They learned how the ships flew. They learned how the communication systems worked. Every piece of knowledge was a potential weapon. Every secret stolen from the aliens was a step toward victory. General Sang-Hoon Kwan was put in charge of all ground forces. He was 60 years old and had fought in 3 different wars. He understood combat at a level that only experience could teach. He looked at the alien tactics and saw arrogance. "They fight like conquerors who have never lost," he told his staff. "They use overwhelming force because they have never needed strategy. That is their weakness." End quote. The pro-crime. They does nother. All rever one. Sang-Hoon began training soldiers in new ways of fighting. The aliens had better armor and better weapons. They were stronger and faster than humans. But humans had one advantage. Humans understood desperation. Humans knew how to fight when everything was lost. Humans were very creative when survival was at stake. "We cannot match their strength," Sang-Hoon told his troops. "So we do not fight with strength. We fight with intelligence. We fight with surprise. We fight with rage. And we fight with the knowledge that every one of them helped kill a child. Remember Minji Choi. Remember what they took from us." The name Minji Choi became a battle cry. Soldiers painted it on their weapons. Pilots painted it on their aircraft. Every human warrior carried that name into battle. It reminded them what they were fighting for. Not just survival, justice, vengeance, protection of every child who remained. 3 weeks after the murder, the Galactic Dominion sent their ultimatum. High Executor Krelvis appeared on every screen on Earth. His translated voice was cold and commanding. "You have refused our generous offer of integration. You have attacked our forces. This is unacceptable behavior from a primitive species. You have one final chance. Surrender now, or we will begin destroying your cities. You have 12 hours. Number 4. Number 4. Number 4. Number 4. Number 4. Taeyang Park stood in the command center, surrounded by military leaders from every nation. He thought about the choice they faced: surrender and become slaves, fight and possibly face extinction. He thought about Minji Choi, murdered for the crime of kindness. He thought about every child on Earth who deserved to grow up free. He opened a communication channel to the alien fleet. His response was broadcast across all of Earth and to the alien ships in orbit. His voice was calm, but his words were steel. "You came to our home. Cloter, Eslime, Canadid, you made demands. You murdered a child in front of her father. Now you threaten to kill more of us. You have made a mistake. You thought fear would make us submit. Instead, you have given us clarity. We know exactly who you are. We know exactly what you will do to us if we surrender. So we choose to fight. Come down from orbit if you dare. Let us show you what humans become when you threaten our children. Come." The channel went silent. In orbit, Krelvis stared at the communication device. In his 300 years of service to the Dominion, he had conquered 42 species. None had ever refused him. None had ever challenged him to battle. These humans were either incredibly brave or incredibly stupid. He gave the order. The invasion would begin at dawn. 5,000 troops would land across Earth's major cities. The humans would be crushed quickly, and the planet would be integrated. This small rebellion would be forgotten in a few months. But as the alien ships began their descent toward Earth's surface, they detected something unexpected. Every human military base was active. Every defense system was online. Every soldier was in position. The humans were not hiding. They were not running. They were waiting. On Earth, Dowan Choi loaded the first weapon he had designed. It was a rifle that fired rounds specifically calibrated to penetrate Vrath armor. During the shield frequency gaps, he had named it after his daughter. The side of the weapon read, "Minji's Justice," in small letters. Around the world, millions of soldiers prepared for battle. They checked their weapons. They said goodbye to their families. They made peace with the possibility of death. And then they took their positions and waited for the aliens to land. Dr. Heijin Nam activated the jamming systems she had designed. The alien fleet's communication network began experiencing interference. Their perfect coordination started to break down. Small errors appeared in their landing patterns. General Sang-Hoon Kwan watched the alien ships descend on his tactical display. He smiled grimly. They are coming in exactly as predicted. Arrogant. Overconfident. Perfect. He opened the command channel. All units. Weapons free. Show them what happens when you underestimate humanity. For Earth, for Minji, for every child they wanted to enslave. The first alien transport touched down outside Tokyo. The doors opened, and Vrath soldiers began pouring out. They expected screaming civilians. They expected chaos. Instead, they found prepared defensive positions and humans who were done being afraid. The war had begun. The Vrath soldiers expected an easy victory. They had conquered dozens of worlds. They had weapons that could melt steel. They had armor that could stop most projectiles. They had fought thousands of battles and always won. But they had never fought humans who had nothing left to lose. The landing zone outside Tokyo erupted in fire. Human artillery had been positioned in the surrounding buildings. The moment the alien transport doors opened, the bombardment began. The aliens scattered, seeking cover. Their shields flickered under the sustained assault. Some went down immediately. Their armor, penetrated by the new weapons Dowan Choi and his team had designed. Corporal Ji Young-han watched from her position 300 meters away. She was 24 years old and had joined the military only 2 weeks earlier. Before that, she had been a teacher. She had taught children Minji's age. When she saw the footage of the murder, something inside her changed. She could not save Minji, but she could fight for the children who remained. "Squad, on me," she said into her radio. Her team consisted of 12 soldiers, all volunteers, all angry. They moved through the ruins of a bombed-out factory, carrying backpacks filled with explosives. Their mission was simple: get close to the alien transport and destroy it. The fact that it was a suicide mission did not matter. Someone had to do it. They crawled through rubble and debris, staying low. Alien plasma fire streaked overhead, melting concrete and steel. Human soldiers were dying all around them. But they kept advancing. When they were 50 meters from the transport, Ji Young gave the signal. Her squad opened fire, drawing the attention of the alien guards. The Vrath soldiers turned toward the new threat. They fired their weapons, cutting down 3 of Ji Young's people immediately. But it was enough distraction. Ji Young sprinted forward with her backpack of explosives. Plasma bolts seared past her. One grazed her shoulder, burning through her uniform. She did not stop. She reached the transport's landing gear and attached her explosive pack. As she armed it, a Vrath soldier appeared above her. He raised his weapon. Ji Young looked up at him and smiled. "For Minji," she said, and pressed the detonator. The explosion tore through the transport's hull. The ship listed to one side, its engines failing. Secondary explosions rippled through the vessel. 300 Vrath soldiers were inside. None survived. Ji Young Han's name would be remembered alongside Minji Choi's, a hero who gave everything. Similar scenes played out across the globe. In London, in Cairo, in Rio de Janeiro. The aliens landed, expecting submission. They found warriors instead. Human soldiers fought with a fury that shocked the Vrath commanders. Even when outgunned, even when facing certain death, the humans did not retreat. Captain Minho Lee led a squadron of fighter jets against the alien air support. The Vrath had small attack craft that were faster and more maneuverable than human jets. They should have dominated the skies, but Minho had studied their flight patterns. He had noticed something. The alien pilots relied on their technology. They let their computers do the flying. They had forgotten how to think creatively. "All wings, break formation," Minho commanded. "Irregular patterns. Force them to fly manual." The human pilots scattered in different directions, flying dangerously close to buildings, through narrow spaces, using Earth's terrain against the aliens. The Vrath pilots tried to follow, but their computer systems could not predict the chaotic human movements. Several crashed into buildings. Others were forced to slow down, making them vulnerable. Minho looped his jet around a skyscraper and came up behind a Vrath fighter. He fired his missiles, hitting the alien craft in the engines. It spiraled down in flames. "That's for every child they wanted to enslave," he said quietly. In the underground command center, Taeyang Park watched the battle reports coming in. The news was mixed. Humans were taking heavy casualties. 5,000 dead in the first hour, 10,000 in the second, but the aliens were also dying. Their landing forces were being pushed back. Their transports were burning. The invasion was not going as planned. "They expected us to break," General Sang Hun Quan said, standing beside Taeyang. "They thought fear would defeat us before the first shot was fired. They were wrong." Taeyang nodded. "How long can we hold?" "Days. Maybe a week. They will bring more troops. More ships. We are hurting them. But they have resources we cannot match. Then we need to hurt them faster," Taeyang said. "What is the status of Dr. Nam's project?" Sang-Hoon checked his datapad. "She says it is ready. The silence protocol. But it is untested. It might not work. If it works, what happens? Their entire communication network goes down. Every ship, every soldier, every computer system they have. They will be blind and deaf, fighting as individuals instead of as a coordinated force." Taeyang looked at the casualty numbers climbing on his screen. Every number was a human life. Every number was someone's child, someone's parent, someone's friend. He thought about Minji Choi, about how her death had united humanity. He made his decision. Tell Dr. Nam to activate it. Now. In her laboratory, Hee-Jin Nam received the order. Her hands trembled slightly as she input the final commands. The silence protocol was based on alien technology she had reverse-engineered. It would send a massive quantum pulse through the frequencies the Dominion used for communication. If it worked, every alien device would shut down for hours, maybe days. If it did not work, she had just wasted precious time and resources. She took a breath and pressed the activation button. For 3 seconds, nothing happened. Then, across the globe, every alien ship lost power. Their communication systems went silent. Their coordination collapsed. Vroth soldiers on the ground found themselves unable to contact their commanders. Attack craft fell from the sky as their flight systems failed. The Dominion's perfect military machine ground to a halt. In orbit, High Executor Krelvis stared in disbelief at his dead communication console. How had these primitive humans done this? It was impossible. His species had technology that was thousands of years advanced, yet somehow, these creatures had found a way to shut it all down. On Earth, human forces immediately pressed their advantage. Without coordination, the alien soldiers were vulnerable. They still had weapons and armor, but they were fighting alone now. Human squads moved in, targeting isolated groups. The battle turned from desperate defense to aggressive offense. Dowen Choi was in the field with his engineering team, testing new weapons in real combat conditions. He carried Minji's Justice Rifle and had already killed 6 Vroth soldiers. Each death brought no satisfaction, only cold necessity. His daughter would never come back, but he could make sure no other children suffered her fate. He saw a group of Vroth soldiers trapped in a collapsed building. They were trying to repair their communication equipment, desperate to reconnect with their command. Dowen approached with his team. The aliens saw him and raised their weapons. "Wait," one of them said through a translator. "We surrender. We request mercy under galactic law." Dowen stared at the alien. He thought about mercy. He thought about how his daughter had offered mercy by returning a lost object. He thought about the mercy the aliens had shown her. None. 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 "You murdered a child in front of thousands of witnesses," Dowen said quietly. "You told us it was standard discipline. You said we needed to learn our place. So let me teach you ours. Humans protect our children, and when you harm them, we do not give mercy. We give justice." He fired. His team fired. The Vroth soldiers fell. Dowen felt nothing. Not satisfaction. Not guilt. Just empty determination. This was war. This was survival. This was what the aliens had created when they pulled that trigger in Seoul. By the end of the first day, the alien invasion force was in full retreat. 3,000 Vroth soldiers were dead. 2,000 more were captured. The remaining forces fled back to their transports and attempted to return to orbit. Many did not make it. In the command center, Taeyang watched the reports with grim satisfaction. They had won the first battle. But he knew this was only the beginning. The Galactic Dominion would not accept this defeat. They would bring more ships, more soldiers, more weapons. But something had changed. Humanity had proven they could fight back. They could win. And most importantly, they had shown the aliens that humans were not prey. Humans were predators. When threatened, and you did not threaten their young without consequences. Taeyang opened a communication to all human forces. "This is Commander Park. Today we proved something. We proved that we will not submit. We proved that we will not surrender. We proved that Earth belongs to humanity and we will defend it with everything we have." The aliens thought we were weak. They thought we were primitive. They thought murdering a child would make us afraid. Instead, they made us angry. And they are learning what humans become when we are angry. This war is not over. But today, we showed them we can win. For Minji. For Earth. For every human who refuses to bow. The message was heard by every human soldier. It was heard by the retreating aliens. It was heard across the galaxy as the news spread. The impossible had happened. Humanity had defeated a Dominion invasion force. The war had only just begun, but the galaxy was starting to realize something. Humans were different. Humans were dangerous. And humans had just entered the galactic stage as a force no one had anticipated. 6 months into the war, Earth was scarred but standing. The Galactic Dominion had sent 3 more invasion fleets. All 3 had been pushed back with heavy losses on both sides. Human casualties numbered in the hundreds of thousands, but the aliens were learning a painful lesson. Every battle against humanity cost more than the last. Every victory the Dominion claimed was paid for with rivers of their own blood. In those 6 months, humanity had changed. Not just in military strength, but in spirit. There was a hardness in people's eyes now. A determination that could not be broken. Children grew up faster, learning to hide in shelters during bombardments. Scientists, aged years and months, working without rest. Soldiers became veterans after their first battle, because there was no time for gradual experience. Commander Taeyang Park stood in the war room, studying a holographic display of the star system. Dr. Haejin Nam had cracked the alien navigation systems, giving humanity a map of nearby Dominion territory. One location stood out. Kelvor Prime. A staging world, 3 light-years from Earth. It was where the Dominion gathered their forces before sending them to attack humanity. "We keep fighting on our doorstep," Taeyang said to the assembled commanders. "We keep defending. But defense alone will not win this war. They will keep sending fleets until we are exhausted, until we make a mistake, until they finally overwhelm us." General Sang-hoon Kwon nodded. "You want to take the fight to them?" "Yes, we hit Kelvor Prime. We destroy their staging ground. We show them that Earth is not just capable of defense. We can attack. We can strike at their heart." The room fell silent. The idea was audacious, almost insane. Humanity had only recently learned to modify captured alien ships for human use. They had a handful of vessels capable of faster-than-light travel. Taking those ships and attacking a Dominion military base was beyond risky. It was nearly suicide. Captain Minho Lee was the first to speak. "I volunteer to lead the fighter wing. I will command the ground assault," Sang-hoon said without hesitation. Around the room, every officer volunteered. No one hesitated. No one questioned whether it was possible. They had all seen too much, lost too much, fought too hard to doubt now. If their commander said they were attacking, then they would attack. Dowan Choi was in the engineering bay when he heard about the plan. He had continued his work, designing weapons, improving armor, finding new ways to kill the enemy. His Minji protocol weapons had become standard issue for human forces. Each weapon was designed to exploit specific weaknesses in Dominion technology. Each one carried his daughter's name in small letters. He walked to the command center and found Taeyang. "I am coming with you to Kelvor Prime." Taeyang looked at the man who had become a symbol of humanity's rage. Dowan had lost weight. His eyes were sunken from lack of sleep, but there was no arguing with him. "You are an engineer, not a soldier. I am a father who watched his daughter murdered. I am a man who has spent 6 months building weapons to kill the ones who did it. And the soldier who pulled that trigger, Thexil, is on Kelvor Prime. Intelligence confirmed it. He commands a battalion there. I am going, Taeyang, either with your permission or without it." Taeyang understood. Revenge was a powerful motivator. Perhaps they all did. "You will be assigned to Sang-hoon's engineering support team. You follow orders. You do not do anything stupid." Dowan nodded. "I will follow orders until I find Thexil. Then I follow justice." 3 weeks later, a fleet of 20 modified alien ships left Earth orbit. They were crewed by human soldiers who had trained day and night to operate the alien technology. The ships were crude compared to proper Dominion vessels, but they were functional. More importantly, the journey to Kelvor Prime took 4 days. During that time, Taeyang gathered his officers for final planning. "We have one advantage. Surprise. They have never been attacked on their own territory. They believe we are trapped at Earth, fighting for survival. They do not expect us to bring the war to them." "What about their defenses?" Minho asked. "Extensive. Orbital platforms, automated weapon systems, at least 3 capital ships in orbit, and 5,000 troops on the ground. We will be outnumbered 5-1. Those are good odds, Sang-hoon said dryly. We have fought worse at Earth. The fleet arrived at Kelvor Prime in the middle of the planet's night cycle. The Dominion defense systems did not immediately recognize the approaching ships as threats because they were using Dominion identification codes that Heijin had stolen. By the time the alarms went off, the human fleet was already in attack range. All ships, weapons free, Taeyang commanded. Remember what they took from us. Show them what that cost. The battle began with a missile barrage that destroyed 2 of the orbital platforms before the Dominion could react. Minho led his fighter wing through the debris, targeting the communications arrays. The silence protocol could not reach this far from Earth. But destroying physical communication equipment worked just as well. Sang-hoon's ground forces launched in drop pods toward the planet's surface. The pods were crude, just metal shells with basic heat shields. 12 soldiers died when their pods failed during entry. The rest made it down, landing in the middle of the Dominion's main base. Dowan was in one of those pods. When the door blew open, he stumbled out into an alien world. The sky was purple. The air smelled like sulfur. And everywhere around him were enemy soldiers. He raised his rifle and started firing. The battle on the ground was chaos. The Dominion forces had superior numbers and better defensive positions, but they were not prepared for humans, who fought like demons. Sang-hoon's troops moved fast, using explosives to destroy key buildings, targeting command centers and supply depots. Dowan moved with his engineering team, setting charges on power generators and weapon storages. Each explosion weakened the enemy. Each destroyed building was one less advantage they had. He asked every prisoner they captured the same question. Where is Thexel? Everyone. Where is Thexel? Most did not know. Some lied. But finally, one Vroth officer told the truth when Dowan put a gun to his head. The old fortress. East Sector. He commands from there. Dowan left his team without permission. He moved through the battle alone, heading east. Soldiers tried to stop him. He killed them or avoided them. Nothing would prevent him from reaching Thexil. Nothing would stand between him and the creature who had murdered his daughter. The fortress was heavily guarded. Dowan used his engineering knowledge to bypass the security systems. He planted explosives on the main door and blew it open. Inside, he found Thexil in a command room, directing troops over a communication panel. Thexil turned and saw the human. Recognition flickered in his yellow eyes. You, the father of that small creature, who bothered me. Dowan raised his rifle. His hands were steady. His voice was calm. Her name was Minji. She was 8 years old. She liked drawing pictures and singing songs. She wanted to be a teacher when she grew up. You took all of that away. Thexil reached for his weapon. Dowan shot him in the arm, the bullet designed to penetrate Vroth armor. The alien screamed and fell. Dowan walked forward, slowly. You said she disrespected you. You said it was standard discipline. You killed a child for being kind. Dowan pulled out a photograph of Minji, smiling. He held it in front of Thexil's face. Look at her. Remember her face. It is the last thing you will ever see. He shot Thexil 3 more times. Once for every year Minji would never have. Then he stood over the body and felt nothing. No satisfaction. No relief. Just emptiness. His daughter was still dead, but at least her murderer was too. Outside, the battle was turning. The Dominion forces were in full retreat. Their command structure had collapsed. Their defenses were destroyed. Taeyang's fleet had taken heavy damage, but they had accomplished their mission. Kelvor Prime was burning. As the human forces prepared to evacuate, Heijin's team broke into the base's central computer system. They downloaded everything. Military plans, technology, schematics, lists of Dominion worlds and resources. Centuries of information now belonged to humanity. They also planted a virus. something Heejin had designed specifically for this moment. It would spread through the Dominion's network, infecting every connected system, causing errors, creating chaos, turning their own technology against them. The human fleet limped back toward Earth. They had lost 6 ships and 3,000 soldiers. But they had dealt a devastating blow to the enemy. More importantly, they had proven something crucial. Humanity could not just defend. Humanity could attack. Humanity could win on alien ground, against alien armies, in alien territory. The war was no longer one-sided. News of the attack spread across the galaxy. The Galactic Dominion, which had ruled for 3,000 years without challenge, had been defeated on their own world. Species that had been enslaved for generations began to wonder. If humans could do this, what else was possible? Rebellions began to spark on subjugated worlds. Small acts of defiance at first, but growing bolder as word spread. The empire, that had seemed unbreakable, was showing cracks. High Executor Krelvis received the news aboard his flagship. Kelvor Prime destroyed. Thousands of his soldiers dead. Thexil, his trusted commander, killed by a grieving human father. Worse, the virus in their computer systems was spreading faster than they could contain it. For the first time in his long life, Krelvis felt something he had never experienced before. Fear. These humans were supposed to be primitive. They were supposed to submit or die. Instead, they were winning. He made a decision. A desperate, final decision. He would gather every ship in the fleet, every soldier, every weapon. He would personally lead them to Earth and end this rebellion once and for all. If he could not defeat humanity with tactics, he would defeat them with overwhelming force. He would reduce Earth to ash and make an example of these defiant creatures. Let the galaxy see what happened to species who dared resist the Dominion. The final battle was coming. The detection systems around Earth picked up the fleet 2 days before it arrived. 500 ships. Every vessel the Galactic Dominion could spare from across their empire. It was the largest armada ever assembled in their 3,000-year history. High Executor Krelvis was leading them personally, determined to end the human rebellion once and for all. Commander Taeyong Park stood in the command center, watching the display as more and more enemy contacts appeared. Every officer in the room understood what they were seeing. This was not an invasion force. This was an extinction fleet. The Dominion was done trying to integrate Earth. They were coming to destroy it completely. How many ships do we have? Taeyong asked quietly. 53 functional vessels, General Sunghun Kwon replied. Another 20, with minor damage that can fight. Every defense platform is operational. Every weapon battery is loaded. Every soldier is at their post. So we are outnumbered 7-1 in ships, and they likely have 10 times our firepower. Yes, sir. Taeyong looked around the room at his officers. He saw Dr. Heejin Nam at her console, her fingers already working on last-minute preparations. He saw Captain Minho Lee reviewing fighter wing assignments. He saw Dawan Choi, who had returned from Kelvor Prime quieter but no less determined. He saw tired faces, scarred bodies, but no fear. Not anymore. Then we will make them pay for every meter of space, Taeyong said. Send the message to all forces. This is the final battle. Today, we show the galaxy who humans are. Today, we prove that Earth will never bow. And if we die free. The message went out across every military frequency, every civilian channel, every communication device on Earth. Billions of people heard their commander's words. In homes, in shelters, in military bases, humans prepared for what might be their last day. Parents held their children. Soldiers checked their weapons one final time. Scientists armed their last defensive systems. Everyone knew this was the end. One way or another. Either humanity would survive, or humanity would fall. But no one would surrender. Minji Choi's memory made sure of that. Krelvis broadcast his own message. His voice was cold and final. Humans of Earth, you have defied the Galactic Dominion. You have rejected our authority. You have killed our soldiers and attacked our worlds. This ends today. We offer one final chance. Surrender immediately, and we will spare 10% of your population as labor slaves. The rest will die quickly. Refuse, and we will bombard your planet until nothing lives. You have 1 hour. Taeyang opened a channel directly to Krelvis. His response was broadcast across every frequency so both the human and alien forces could hear. High Executor Krelvis. You came to our home. You made demands. You murdered a child named Minji Choi because she tried to return something your soldier dropped. You did this in front of her father, in front of thousands of witnesses, in front of our whole world. You told us it was standard discipline. You told us we needed to learn our place. So now, we teach you ours. Taeyang's voice grew harder, colder. Humans protect our children above everything else. When you harm them, we do not negotiate. We do not surrender. We fight until we win or until we die. So here is our answer to your offer. Come. Come down from orbit and try to take our world. Come and learn what happens when you threaten human children. Come and discover why mercy is something you should have considered before you pulled that trigger. We are waiting. The channel went silent. In his flagship, Krelvis felt rage boiling through him. How dare these primitives speak to him this way? He had conquered dozens of species. He had weapons that could crack planets. These humans, and their defiance, would end in the next few hours. All ships, advance, he commanded. Begin orbital bombardment. I want every city reduced to rubble. The Dominion Armada moved forward. Their weapons began charging. Earth's defense platforms opened fire first, targeting the leading vessels. Explosions bloomed in the dark of space. The battle had begun. Captain Minho Lee led his fighter wing out to meet the enemy. He knew it was suicide. The Dominion had thousands of attack craft, but every minute his pilots could delay them was one more minute for Earth's people to reach shelters. One more minute of life. All wings, attack pattern Sigma, Minho commanded. Target their communications arrays. Make them work for every kill. The human fighters dove into the alien formation like birds attacking a predator. They fired missiles, plasma cannons, every weapon they had. Alien ships exploded, but for every one they destroyed, 5 more took its place. Minho's squadron began to shrink. 20 fighters became 15. 15 became 10. Minho's ship took a hit, his engines failing. He looked at the picture of his family taped to his console. He looked at the Dominion flagship ahead. He made his choice. For Minji, he whispered, and pushed his failing engines to maximum. His ship accelerated toward the flagship's bridge, a missile of metal and fury. The last thing he saw was Krelvis's face through the viewport, eyes wide with shock. The impact destroyed the flagship's bridge. Krelvis died instantly, along with his command staff. The Dominion fleet suddenly lost coordination. Ships began breaking formation, unsure who was in command now. The perfect military machine started to fracture. On the ground, Dawan Choi manned a defense battery, firing anti-ship weapons at any vessel that came into range. He had survived Kelvor Prime. He had killed Thexil. Now he would defend his home until his last breath. Each shot he fired was for his daughter. Each enemy ship that fell was justice delivered. Dr. He-Jin Nam activated the final phase of her work. The virus she had planted at Kelvor Prime had been spreading through the Dominion network for weeks. Now she triggered its ultimate function. Every infected system began shutting down simultaneously. Shields failed. Weapons misfired. Navigation systems showed false data. The entire fleet descended into chaos. It is working, He-Jin reported to Taeyang. Their systems are failing across the board. They are blind, deaf, and confused. How long will it last? Hours, Maybe less. They will eventually contain it. But for now, they are vulnerable. Taeyang saw the opportunity. All ships, full assault. Target their capital vessels. Sang-hoon. Launch all ground forces. Hit their troop transports before they can land. General Sang-hoon Kwan led the ground forces in a desperate charge. Drop pods launched from Earth's remaining ships, targeting the alien transports trying to deploy troops. It was supposed to be impossible to board an enemy ship during combat. But humans had stopped caring about what was possible months ago. Sang-hoon's pod crashed through the hull of a troop transport. His team poured out, firing at the surprised Dominion soldiers inside. The fighting was brutal and close. No room for tactics, only raw violence. But humans excelled at close combat when rage fueled their strength. They fought through corridors, destroying everything. When they reached the engine room, they planted explosives and evacuated. The transport exploded, taking 300 enemy soldiers with it. Sang-hoon's team had lost half their number, but they had eliminated an entire ship. This scene repeated across the battlefield. Human soldiers boarding alien vessels, destroying them from within. It was costly. It was desperate. But it was working. The Dominion fleet, already reeling from system failures and the loss of their commander, began to break apart. Some ships tried to retreat. Others fought on mindlessly without orders. A few even surrendered. Something that had never happened in Dominion history. The fleet that had come to destroy Earth was being destroyed instead. Taeyang watched the battle unfold from the command center. The cost was terrible. 50,000 dead. 100,000. The numbers kept climbing. Every death was a human life ended, a family destroyed. But they were winning. Against impossible odds, humanity was actually winning. As dawn broke over Earth, the last Dominion ships fled into faster-than-light travel. Of the 500 vessels that had arrived, only 93 escaped. The rest were destroyed or captured. The greatest fleet in Galactic Dominion history had been shattered by a species they had called primitive. In the command center, exhausted officers stared at the displays in disbelief. They had done it. Earth had survived. Humanity had won. The room was silent for a long moment. Then someone started clapping. Others joined. Soon the entire command center was cheering, crying, embracing. Taeyang felt tears running down his face. He had not cried since Minji Choi's death. Now, finally, he allowed himself to feel the weight of everything they had endured. The losses, the sacrifices, the desperate battles, and now, impossibly, victory. Dowan Choi stood at his defense battery, watching the enemy ships retreat. He thought about his daughter. He thought about the pile of ash that was all he had left of her. He thought about the 6 months of rage and grief that had consumed him. The war was over, but Minji was still gone. She would always be gone. But Earth was safe. Other children would grow up free. No other father would have to watch his daughter die for the crime of being kind. Perhaps that was enough. It had to be enough. In the following days, the galaxy learned what had happened. The Galactic Dominion, the empire that had ruled for 3 millennia, had been defeated by humans. The news spread like fire. Enslaved species saw an opportunity. If humans could resist, so could they. Rebellions erupted across Dominion space. Worlds declared independence. Fleets mutinied. The empire began to collapse from within, its authority shattered by the impossible defeat at Earth. Within weeks, the Dominion sued for peace. They offered reparations, trade agreements, anything to end the conflict. Taeyang Park, now representing Earth in galactic affairs, sat across from the new Dominion leadership. They were different species, not Vrath. The reptilian warriors had been removed from power, blamed for the disaster. "We seek peace," the new Dominion representative said. "We acknowledge our errors. We offer compensation for our actions." Taeyang looked at them coldly. "You murdered a child. You tried to enslave our world. You came to destroy us when we resisted. And now you seek peace because you lost. What would you have us do? Remember. Remember what happened when you threatened our children. Remember that humanity does not forget. Remember that we will never submit to tyranny. Build a galaxy where children of all species can grow up safe, where the strong protect the weak instead of exploiting them. Do that, and we will have peace. The agreement was signed. The war officially ended. Earth became the center of a new alliance, species that had freed themselves from the Dominion, joining together. Not an empire, but a coalition of equals. A galaxy learning to live without masters and slaves. A monument was built in Seoul, where Minji Choi had died. It showed a small girl holding a hand up to return something. Around her were soldiers, scientists, and civilians of many species. The inscription read in every known language. They thought we would break. Instead, we taught them fear. Remember the children. Remember why we fight. Dowan Choi visited the monument often. He would stand there for hours, talking to his daughter as if she could hear. He told her about the war, about the victory, about the new galaxy being built in her memory. He told her he was sorry he could not save her, but he had made sure her death meant something. Commander Taeyang Park delivered Earth's founding principle to the assembled Galactic Council. Representatives from 40 species listened as he spoke. Humanity has learned a hard lesson. We are not alone in this galaxy. We share it with many forms of life. We will work with all species in peace. We will share our knowledge and our friendship. But we make one promise that will never break. He paused, looking at each representative. Never again will any child, human or alien, be murdered without consequence. Never again will the strong prey upon the weak. Never again will tyranny go unchallenged. This is humanity's promise. This is what we fought for. This is why we will always defend the innocent, no matter the cost. The council chamber was silent. Every species there had heard the stories. They had seen the battle reports. They knew what humans had done when pushed too far. They understood the warning. The galaxy had changed. Humanity had entered the galactic stage not as conquerors, but as protectors. As a species that would fight impossible battles for one principle. Children, all children, deserved to grow up safe. And anyone who forgot that lesson would learn it the hard way. Years later, human children would learn about Minji Choi in school. They would learn about the war that followed her death. They would learn about the soldiers who fought, the scientists who innovated, the leaders who refused to surrender. They would learn that humanity's greatest strength was not technology or weapons. It was the simple fact that humans will burn down the galaxy before they let someone harm their young. That was the lesson the Galactic Dominion learned. That was the lesson the galaxy would never forget. And that was why Earth, the small blue world that had been dismissed as primitive, became the planet that changed everything. Because they had learned what happens when you threaten a human child. You awaken something primal, something unstoppable, something that will hunt you across the stars until justice is delivered. You awaken humanity's fury. And that fury knows no limits.